Hey everyone, welcome back. And today we are doing another educational video. And as you can see, we are doing it on the extinction of the dinosaurs. And what exactly killed the dinosaurs, you may ask? Well, we'll get into that. Whenever I was younger, I was very much a dinosaur kid. So I was always interested in them. So this fits perfectly with some of my old thoughts. And as you can see, some of the names for what it was the Cretaceous Paleogene or the KPG or the Cretaceous Tertiary or the KT extinction. And it receives its name from the German word Kreid, and it means chalk, which references the chalky substance or sediment that is found during the Cretaceous period, and the word tertiary, which is traditionally used to describe the period of time spanning from the Paleogene to the Neogene periods. So, what exactly did the Earth look like during the Cretaceous? Well, we have a map of the globe here, and you can see that North America, the Rocky Mountains, and the Gulf of Mexico are look very weird compared to what they should have been now. Eurasia also looks pretty weird. North China, Southeast Asia, and stuff like that. Africa has a big chunk taken out of it. South America actually looks somewhat similar. It just part of it is an inland sea because it's lower in water, which I guess that's part of the reason why North America, the middle of it has a shallow seas there. But yeah, anything that is light blue is a shallow sea. Anything that's dark blue is deep ocean basin. And then anything that's dark brown is mountains. And then light brown is land. Then also Australia and Antarctica are connected there. And then also India and Madagascar are connected right next to each other. So there is quite a bit of stuff that's different. Oh yeah, then Africa is also kind of not connected to Eurasia because of the shallow seas. And yeah, so it looked very much different. And part of the reason why is because there was no ice. Well, little to no ice during this period. So all the ice had melted, it had filled up the ocean some more, and that's the reason why a lot of areas were underwater. So the Cretaceous lasted between 145 to 66 million years ago, and it was a very warm climate. Average temperature was about 26 degrees Celsius, which is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Winters were roughly 15 degrees Celsius or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. So, really, on the average, it was not that bad, but of course, there's going to be above average and below average days. So, again, high sea levels, numerous shallow inland seas, kind of like between Africa and Eurasia, and then also inside the United States, some of the low areas and stuff like that being covered with water. And that's because it was mostly ice free, the ice had melted, like I said before. And then one of the other things is CO2 is estimated to be 4 to 5 times the present atmospheric level. So there's 4 to 5 times more CO2 than there was now, which, as I said before in my last educational video, whenever there's more CO2, the greenhouse effect goes into account, and it traps more heat here on Earth. So that's the reason why it was so much warmer. So, one of the creatures that you would have seen during the Cretaceous, okay, one of the most well known, would be the T Rex. So, I have a picture of the T Rex here, or of a T Rex, because you might think of the Jurassic Park T Rex, okay? Jurassic Park is very, very well known. I love the movie. But their T Rex is a little thin, okay? This is a more chunkier version that someone has made that is a more realistic looking T Rex. So, yeah. So, the Tyrannosaurus rex or T Rex is the rex meaning king in Latin. It lived through what is now Western North America, and it is the last known member of the Tyrannosaurids, and among the last non-avian dinosaurs to exist before the KT or KPG extinction event. It is a large bipedal carnivore with a massive skull balanced on a long and heavy tail. The forelimbs or arms were very short, but unusually powerful for their size, and they had two clawed digits or fingers on their limbs, their arms. Most modern estimates say that it could have exceeded sizes of 13 meters or 43 feet in length, and then weighed 8.8 tons or 9.7 US tons in mass. And it's among the largest known land predators on Earth. Most likely an apex predator preying upon hadrosaurs and ceratopsians and ankylosaurs and possibly sauropods. Some experts suggest that the dinosaur may have possibly been a primary scavenger. So it might not have been quite of an apex predator like some of us might think. It might have just been eating stuff that was already dead. But I like the idea of it being an apex predator. So we're just going to go with that. And why would I not, when I talk about T-Rex, would I not talk about Sue? So Sue is given to the FMNHPR 2081. That's the catalog number for it. And it's one of the largest and most expensive and best well-preserved Tyrannosaurus rex specimen bones ever found, at over 90% recovered. So it's a very important specimen, I guess you could say. A very awesome specimen to look at. And when I say most expensive, it was $8.3 million whenever it was sold. And it was discovered on August 12th, 1990 by Sue Hendrickson, given the name Sue. And then we have a picture of Sue there, which looks pretty great. Looks pretty great. I can understand why it costs so much, which there was... That's not the most expensive one, because there is a T-Rex named Stan that I think is more recovered and also sold for quite a bit more. But Sue was one of the first, so I had to go with Sue. So, during the Cretaceous, other than animals, there were plants. So, during the early Cretaceous, the higher flora was dominated by gymnosperm groups, or non-flowering plants. And these included cycads, conifers, ginkgophytes, gnatophytes, and close relatives. There were also flowering plants, or the angiosperms, that make up 90% of the living plant species today. But at that time, there were not as many flowering plants, because the first appearance and diversification of flowering plants occurred during this time. And we have the Archaeophractus. I hope I said that right. And it has been proposed to be one of the earliest known genera of flowering plants. And we have a few different pictures of fossils here, and I'm pretty sure they were found in China. But yeah. Now, I want to talk about one of the plants, or you know how I said the ginkgophytes or whatever were some that were there? Well, we have a ginkgo species, the Ginkgo biloba, which is also known as the maidenhair tree, that was kind of known as a living fossil because it's the last living species in the order Ginkgoides, and it's native to East Asia. It's widely regarded as a living fossil, like I said, and it can tolerate pollution and confined soil spaces, and it rarely has any disease problems and are attacked by few insects. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good plant, and I love the leaves. Okay, the leaves kind of look like a fan, and they get pretty dang big. The first time I've seen one of these is my grandparents have one of these plants in their backyard, and it's pretty dang cool. Uh, and it was among the few remaining living organisms in the areas to survive the bombing of Hiroshima. So it can survive nuclear bombs. Okay, I'm not saying that everyone survived, but I'm saying that a few of them survived, and that's still insane. Then there is a 1,400-year-old ginkgo tree at a Buddhist temple at Gaoyuan in the Zhongnan Mountains. I hope I said that somewhat similar. But yeah, so they can live insanely long lives. So let's talk more about the KT extinction after we talked about like what the Cretaceous looked like. So the KT extinction is a mass extinction of 3/4 of plant and animal species on Earth, and it happened approximately 66 million years ago. The event caused the extinction of all the non-avian dinosaurs. So not all dinosaurs died, but the non-avian, the reptiles ones, yes. And most pteropods weighing more than 25 kilograms or 55 pounds also became extinct. So most of the big ones are gone, but there were the smaller ones. With the exception of some of the ectothermic species such as sea turtles and crocodilians. So crocodiles are kind of like living fossils too, since they survived, and sea turtles. It's marked it marked the end of the Cretaceous period, with it the Mesozoic era. So, whenever we look for the KT extinction inside rocks, we look for the KT boundary. And it's a thin layer of sediment rock which is found throughout the world in marine and terrestrial rocks. And it's like the chalk layer, okay? And here we have a picture of them showing the layer. Like right where that finger is on that picture, that's the KT extinction line. And it shows unusual high levels of a metal iridium, and it's more common in asteroids than it is in the Earth's crust. So the Cretaceous Paleogene boundary, or the KT boundary, contains a concentration of iridium hundreds of times greater than normal. So that's why we think that there was an asteroid that hit during that time. So there exists strong evidence that the extinction coincided with a large meteorite impacted at the Chicxulub crater. And the possible causes for the extinction is, of course, the asteroid or comet impact, like the Chicxulub impact, or multiple impact events. There's also Deccan traps, which were in India around that time, sea level regression, and then there's other multiple causes. And we'll go over some of these. So the Chicxulub crater, here I have a map of where it was. So it's over on the Yucatan Peninsula, and the diameter of it was 150 kilometers or 93 miles. The depth was 20 kilometers or 12 miles, and the age of it, or when it like happened, was about 66 million years ago during the Cretaceous Paleogene boundary. And it formed by a large asteroid or comet around 10 to 15 kilometers in diameter, or 6.2 to 9.3 miles in diameter. The collision would have released the same energy as 100 teratons of TNT, which is 4.2 times 1023 joules of energy, which is more than a billion times the energy of the atomic bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So you can look there at the picture of where it's at above me, and then also the Yucatan Peninsula there, where you can see how big the trough of it would be, and it also goes into the ocean and land. It's kind of like half and half. So, what were the effects of the impact for this? Well, I have a picture there showing kind of what would happen in different areas of the world. And first of all, there would have been mega tsunamis, intense pulse of infrared radiation, which was just light and heat from it entering the atmosphere and hitting the ground with all that energy, humongous dust clouds that were caused by hitting the ground, sulfuric acid aerosols, oceans acidification, which was also caused by sulfuric acid, impact winter, and then possible local or global firestorms. So the picture I have above me here would show basically how dangerous it was as close to the impact as it was. So in the very center there, of course, you would have a lot of thermal radiation, which it goes toward the very tip of South America and into the middle of North America. So within this area here, there'd be a high amount of thermal radiation and ejecta, which is dust and whatnot that was there whenever the asteroid hit the ground. Now, the yellow area, which goes into Canada and into the middle of South America and also into the ocean, would have like major seismic shaking. So you'd felt earthquakes and stuff like that, which you probably could have felt it as big as it was, like most of the way around the world. Then all the way around North America and South America, part of Eurasia and Africa, you would have had tsunamis from this hitting the water. So yeah, very bad. And then we have a picture of the crater here. So, mega tsunamis. Fun topic, right? So, mega tsunamis, it was estimated that the tsunami was more than 100 meters or 330 feet tall as the asteroid fell into a relatively shallow sea, and in deep seas, it would have been 4.6 kilometers or 2.9 miles tall. That is insanely tall. To be like 1 mile would be super tall. That's almost 3 miles tall. And the deposits of sediments around the area of the Caribbean Sea and Gulf of Mexico from the colossal wave created by the impact. So you can see the sediments and stuff still from where the crater like ended, I guess, where like all the sediments from the mega tsunamis ended up. So I have a picture here of basically what happened. So it would have the asteroid or the meteorite, I guess, would have. Actually, I should probably say why we call it a meteorite, because it's made of the right stuff to make it to the ground. So it's, of course, an asteroid before it hits Earth, but if it hits Earth, it's a meteorite because it's made of the right stuff. But anyways, the meteorite, it would hit the ocean, creating shock waves, which make splash waves, and then the water level would continue to increase into a mega tsunami that would then hit the land around it. So, what was inside the seas at this time? So, we have a species called the plesiosaur. The plesiosaur are an order clade of extinct Mesozoic marine reptiles, and they first appeared in the late Jurassic period, thriving until the disappearance due to the Cretaceous Paleogene or the KT extinction event. They had a worldwide oceanic distribution, so they lived everywhere around the world. And some species at least partly inhabited freshwater environments. So they weren't just in the ocean, they were also in like lakes and stuff like that that might have been in, or like freshwater inland seas or rivers or whatnot. They had a broad, flat body and a short fin or short tail and four long flippers. Plesiosaurs breathed air and bore live young, and are indications that they were warm-blooded. So we have some pictures here of plesiosaurs. So there are two main morphological types of plesiosaurs. So first, to my very far left, there's the long neck, small head morphological type, which were relatively slow and caught small sea animals or creatures. Then, to my immediate left here, we have more of a crocodile-looking one that had a short neck and large head, and these were apex predators, fast hunters of large prey. And if you see the long neck one and it looks somewhat familiar, you might think it looks like the Loch Ness Monster. So the Loch Ness Monster is kind of thought to be a type of plesiosaur, but I don't believe Loch Ness Monster. But this looks very much like a picture that people take of the Loch Ness Monster that are most likely fake. So, the next thing that we are going to talk about is the infrared radiation. So, as the circle showed, that about in the center of the United States, all the Caribbean, and then also part of South America, there had been immense infrared radiation. And it would have cooked any exposed organisms nearby. So, most things inside that circle, if they were out on the ground, they would have been cooked. Then there would have been local ferocious fires, possibly global. So, based on the amount of soot in the global debris layer, the entire terrestrial biosphere might have been burned. It implies that a global soot cloud blocked out the sun along with the dust cloud. So, this brings into account when I said the local ferocious fires and then the global, possibly. So there is an idea or a debate that during the Cretaceous there was a firestorm, and that basically means that there was a global wildfire that may have ignited by the thermal of the meteorite, and then also the lightning strikes and stuff that were initiated by the charge separation in the atmosphere with the dust particles. So basically, there was more lightning strikes because all the dust in the air rubbing against each other, making them charged, and then making like static and lightning. So there would have been a lot of lightning strikes that could have lit up the trees and stuff like that. And since there was such a big dust cloud and soot in the air, it would have blocked out the sunlight, which would cause plants to die. So then there would have been a lot more dead plants to light on fire. So the Cretaceous Paleogene firestorm debate is highly debated, and we don't know for sure, but they were guaranteed local fires. So like the Caribbean and like into America and part of South America definitely had some fires because they were in the thermal like zone. And then possibly whenever all the dust cloud and soot and stuff was covering the entire globe, there could have been lightning strikes that caused firestorms in other continents. So, the humongous dust cloud. So, whenever something that big hits the ground, okay, it's going to release a ton of dust and earth into the air. So when we looked at the Chicxulub crater, part of it was inside the Yucatan Peninsula, and part of it was inside the shallow oceans or ocean basins. And the water half, of course, would have caused the tsunamis. The land half caused all the humongous dust clouds and stuff like that. So the dust cloud that was made could have blocked sunlight for up to a year, which would have inhibited photosynthesis and caused most of the plants to die. But not only did it just take up the earth, but there was also an area of gypsum and anhydrite rock, which contains a lot of hydrocarbons and sulfur. This would have injected sulfuric acid and aerosols into the atmosphere, which might have reduced sunlight reaching the Earth by more than 50%, caused acid rain, and then also caused the oceans to acidify as a result. So, not only did the dust happen, the acid rain happened, which acidified the oceans, and then also stopped most of the sunlight to the Earth. So, and then I have a picture of a like big dust cloud, I think from Africa. So there's also possibly multiple impact events. So Chicxulub might not have been the only crater in like Mexico or the Yucatan Peninsula. So there might have been multiple of these, and there's three other ones that I want to really highlight. So this suggests that there is possibly near simultaneous multiple impacts, perhaps from a fragmented asteroidal object. So there might have been a bigger asteroid that fragmented into smaller pieces, and all of these are pieces of the same asteroid. But we don't know for sure. So we have the Boltish crater in the Ukraine, which hit around 6.5 million years ago, and then it was 24 kilometers and 15 miles in like diameter, like large. Then there's a silver pit crater in the North Sea. So I have pictures here in order. So the very far left is Ukraine, where it's at in Ukraine. The middle one here is, of course, the North Sea silver pit crater, and it was 5.9 million years ago, and it was 20 kilometers or 12 miles. Then we have the Shiva crater, which is offshore India, and it's to my immediate left. So it claims to be 6.6 billion years ago, and it is 600 kilometers or 370 miles. So to put that into thing, we can go back to our Chicxulub crater here. So it was only 150 kilometers, and then this one here, go back to this, is 600 kilometers. So this one seems to be much, much bigger. Much, much bigger. Times of magnitude bigger. But yeah, it's underwater right off the coast of India. And the reason why it's claimed to be is because it's not... We're not for sure. But yeah, those are the other possible impact events, and they all happened around, like, especially the one in Ukraine and India happened around 6.66 million years ago. The Silver Pit crater in the North Seas happened at 59 million years ago. So then all the dust, all the soot, the fires, and stuff like that. There's so much stuff in the atmosphere blocking off so much of the sunlight. Plants are dying and stuff like that. We have an impact winter. So, since there's all that fine silica dust, which contributed to the intense impact winter, the climatic forcing of the impact winter was about 100 times more potent than that of the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo. And the onset of the global darkness would have reached its maximum in only a few weeks and likely lasted of 2 years. And that caused the extinction of most plants and phytoplankton in the world. And the freezing temperatures probably lasted for at least 3 years, and the sea surface temperature dropped as much as 7 degrees Celsius or 13 degrees Fahrenheit for decades after the impact. So, all of that caused by what we think was a meteorite impact. And that caused all the tsunamis, all the fires, all the dust, everything was basically caused by just a meteorite hitting the Earth. It's insane that all that can happen, and it causes a lot of the life on Earth to go extinct. The non-avian dinosaurs, lots of plant species, and stuff like that, causing an impact winter, which is not an ice age, but still cold. And that is what we think killed the dinosaurs. So as I said in the beginning of this video, I was very much a dinosaur kid. I still like dinosaurs. And learning more about how they ended, like the KT extinction is one, like the most well-known extinction event because it killed the dinosaurs. So many people like the dinosaurs. So many people think they are so interesting. And to just have them destroyed by the impact of a meteor and like what the meteor caused is just very sad. Very sad to say the least. But yeah, that is, I guess, our second mass extinction like video, because we had the introduction of oxygen into the atmosphere, which killed like not over 90% of life on Earth because oxygen was toxic. Now we have a meteorite that hit the surface of Earth, which killed all our non-avian dinosaurs. Possibly in the future, I might look at some other extinction events because even though like they're kind of sad, kind of depressing kind of thing, they happened so long ago it doesn't really hurt that much at all. But they're very cool, like learning about Earth, learning about the organisms that live, and I got to look up more about dinosaurs, like the T-Rex and the plesiosaur and stuff. So, very cool. Still very excited about all these educational videos. I'm trying to think of some topic to do during Halloween or during October because I want to do something different for them, because I want to do something that kind of coincides with Halloween and maybe horror or something like that. So I'm trying to think of an educational video topic to do for those. If you guys have any idea of what you want to see for that, you can leave a comment in the video. Or if you just want to talk about dinosaurs and the KT extinction, I mean, go ahead and talk in the comments. I'll try to answer any questions if there are, or I'll just talk about dinosaurs. But yeah. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something about this, because I think a lot of people kind of know about the meteorite impact. And then also, I just want to throw out there, which Batman movie was it that had Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze? I always love the line he goes that, you know what's killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! Which isn't really true, but it was funny at the time. But yeah. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I will see you guys next month at our next educational video during October. So thanks and bye bye.